Here's a quick look at the Coleman Instant Up 6-person tent. Been keeping an eye out for a tent similar to this. There's been a few variations and different brands, different models, etc. that are similar to this. What I want to do is actually get something that'll go up beside the van or beside the four-wheel drive with an awning that'll sort of go over to the four-wheel drive, which will give me access into the car and into the tent. So this kind of fits the bill in that sense. Now it does appear there are various models, whether you're looking at the US or the Australian model. From the stuff that I've seen on YouTube, the majority of the stuff seems to be the US model, and I've actually heard some feedback saying that they leak because they don't actually have a rain fly, and through reading it basically said that Coleman had reviewed the tent itself and decided to stick a rain fly on it because they're getting quite a bit of feedback apparently. Now whether that's true or not I don't know, but just in a few forums suggested that they do actually leak. So once I actually picked it up, set it up, you know, probably took me about 10 minutes give or take, took my time. The biggest challenge was getting the fly on, and I didn't want to rush into it. I'm not going to bother you with the setup of the tent because there's plenty of other bozos doing that. Didn't want to add one to the list. I just want to give you a look at the fly and so maybe show you some differences between this one and what appears to be the US model, or some of the other ones I'm seeing advertised in Australia that don't actually come with a fly. There seems to be a bit of variation, and what I originally thought was that this was going to basically be the same as the US model, but just include a fly. Now let's just get in here, it won't be a sec. So we're in the tent, and what you can actually see, the variation is that this actually has full mesh roof. So without the actual fly on, that whole roof is actually mesh, sort of from this corner all the way across and up there, and you've actually got 4 of those. So just spin around so you get the idea. Beyond that, it looks to be exactly the same as the American version. So you'll see there's the large windows which open up on all 3 sides. I'll just drop those down. So there you go, you can see that one on that side still up. Down at the back. And over that side there as well. Now a few little interesting things really quickly is that on both of the sides you've got the tabs, which is typical for a tent. You've got the toggle on the other side. Roll this up, stick the toggle through the thing, hold your window down. What they haven't done, however, is applied that thinking to the back one. It's on both sides, but it's not on the back. It's not on the front little window here either, although that one does just seem to, the zip doesn't go all the way down, so it just sort of folds in there. And the dog's just farted, which is fantastic, but luckily enough this tent's got plenty of ventilation, as I said, with the top 4 sides. And you've also got one in the door itself. Something interesting about this is they use sort of a bit of an odd zip design. Let me just do this up and you'll see here, so on this front door here, to see the mesh, this one here, and actually the bottom of the door itself, rather than just sort of having just a regular D door where you would sort of unzip up around the top, and then you'd get the the inside would drop down, you just have the mesh. We've actually got 2 zips, and they tend to sort of end in the corner like that. Not real sure if I'm a fan of that or not yet, but we'll see how that goes. I can't imagine the functionality is going to be that different. So you've got that there, you've got that there. You've also got that at the bottom of the door where you'll have this upright zip will come down, and you've got a zip across the bottom which will come across. Get that, buddy. In the corners you've got the 4 pockets. 1, 2, 3, and you guessed it, 4. Other than that, inside's pretty much basic. There's not a lot to it. Plenty of room between the fly and the mesh. This is going to be a great tent for summer, I think. Plenty of ventilation. I don't think you're going to have any issues with moisture. I have wet this. You can see it's a little bit wet, and you can see we've had quite a bit of rain with the dog's pool out the back. It's got a bit of water in it. But I hosed this down just out of curiosity to see whether it leaked or not. The rainfly did its job. These panels, windows, whatever you want to call them, they did their jobs as well. Didn't let it any water whatsoever, and I gave it a fair soaking. I haven't done any seam sealing or anything like that, so it's just as it was straight out of the box. Setup is fairly basic. You know, you probably could do it in a couple of minutes if you wanted to, but you know, I figure I'm camping. I'm not in a hurry. I'm on holiday or I'm taking a break. So you've got the tab up the top for your lantern, your torch, whatever you light. Just the different things here for to run your cord down the front corner there. You've got a zip, let your power cord in if you're on a powered site. And as you can see here, got the excellent awning out the front, so it gives us plenty of what are you doing, buddy? He's having a snooze. So it gives you plenty of coverage out the front. You probably have that open and have the rain, have all this shut off and still not get wet. Let some of the ventilation in through these front windows. Plenty of space. This one's a 6-person. This one's about a 3.3 by 2.7, I think. I went with this one because I've got a smaller Black Wolf, which is actually like a 3-4 person one, and when I put these two cots in, you barely have room down the middle to fit in. I did look at the 4-person version of this, and it didn't look like the floor space was much bigger, so I was still going to end up, even though I was end up with more height, I wasn't going to end up with a lot more floor space, which is actually what I wanted. So this is going to really fit the bill. This is going to be for the car camping. This is going to be the car camping tent. Good solid bucket floor. The seams you can see here look like they've been vulcanised. Zoom in there. There we go. So they're pretty well sealed. Anywhere you see a seam on the floor, they look like that. Seeing a few different spots here and there where some of the stitching isn't perfect, but I've seen that in pretty much all tents. Quite often you'll find that the thread's not even attached. Like you'll see something like that, but that doesn't seem to affect functionality. The mesh in the windows is not the best I've ever seen, compared to some of the other tents that I've got. This mesh is probably what I would call coarse. I'm not sure whether you classify that as no seam. I haven't actually had a look. You can see there where there's a bit of a bunching of the mesh where it lines up, so that's a bit, you know, not whether you call that an imperfection or not, I don't know. But there's some things that are a bit of a lesser standard than you might expect. But with Coleman, I believe you get what you pay for. I paid about $300 for this, $310, which was on sale down from about $400. Hang on, just gotta. Hey, Titan. Hey, cut it out. Yeah. One other interesting thing is you don't actually have a exit out the back. That's just a window, so you can't get in or out from that way. The door is only a door on that side, so you've only got sort of half of the front, where sometimes you'd normally see it split down the middle and it'll both open up. That's just a window. That's your door, and opens up similar to the window. You can't actually open the whole piece up, so it's just that part that you can see sort of partly unzipped there that actually opens up. Comes with those poles, as you can see at the front there, for the awning, which was really nice. I was expecting to have to go and buy those, but they're actually included in the package. Zips all appear reasonable quality. You'll see everywhere where you've got an overlap of material, etc. You've got double stitches everywhere. Doesn't appear to be holes. Not seeing any seam tape as such, but double stitching hopefully will do its job. Well, as far as the tent goes, happy with the size, happy with how easily it sets up. A little bit different to the US version, obviously, where they just throw up the standalone tent and there's no fly to go on. The Aussie version has the fly, so keep that in mind, that you're going to need to throw that on as well, so that's going to increase setup time, but it's still fairly minimal, albeit that on the outside you've got the 4 points that you want to guy out, and then each each window, so one there, one at the back, one on the other side, and then putting the awning up, which has just popped off. Still working out on the technique to get that to hold up, so a little bit of wind out there at the moment. Other than that, jury's still out on this at the moment. Won't have any proper feedback until I actually get it out and spend a night or two on it. Once I do, if my opinion changes other than it looks like a good tent, easy to set up, etc., I'll report back. That I'm looking forward to is actually spending some time in this tent in the rain. One of my joys of camping is actually, my favourite time is actually being in the tent in the rain. Now I know that sounds crazy, but I love the sound of it. I just like being in the outdoors, and I love it being in the tent when it's raining. It's obviously nice to have a tent that you've got a bit of space in. But I'm really looking forward to spending some time in the rain, because as you can see, the fly comes down, but it doesn't actually come all the way down. So providing there's not sort of a side wind or something like that, or the rain's not coming in sideways, or it's not a ridiculous sort of rain, this is actually going to be fantastic to be in, because in theory I should be able to leave all these windows open and just thoroughly enjoy the rain, be able to still see out, but be dry from the inside. Obviously time will tell whether that's going to be the case. You'll also notice on each side is this logo, which is the lamp. Look, I don't know whether that's a Coleman logo or something like that. Not overly impressed with that being on both sides, and you can see that it's fairly sizable, so I'm not sure what that's about. It's got the usual sort of Coleman written down on the front corner, and then over here in the back corner as well, where the tents usually stick their logo, but not sure what that's about. I've got to assume that that's a logo, but so be it. Anyway, that's the Coleman Instant Up 6-person tent. Any questions, let me know, and happy to do my best to answer. If you want more specific views of the outside or the frames or something like that, let me know, and I'll oblige where I can. Cheers guys, thanks for watching.